Let's get nuts.
You're all right. There's actually two of our an early parts of the team at this stage are from Limerick, so we're well used to the
Right.
crack. Yeah,
Very good. Where were you the weekend, lads? You're blowing Redwood, was it?
Redwood Castle. So we did 2 nights in Redwood Castle. Always at Halloween, we locked down for location. So we were there for Saturday night and we were there for Sunday night. We only got back yesterday afternoon.
Jeez, you're
So
flat out.
it's a lot of work. Like, to be honest with you, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And like, don't forget, we're a non-profit, so we make zero money. So we're doing this for the passion of what we do. Like, we make zero, nothing, nada. We do
Unreal.
this so that the castles can remain open, because these are all private Irish castles. They're not your Bunratties that are making money off tourists. These are Irish family owned. So the fees that they pay is for the castle. We don't take a cent. For us, it's helping to keep those doors open and the locations open. And obviously, of course, because we love what we do, you know?
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I'm recording there now, lads. So it's just going to be a chat, an open chat. That's all it is. There's no real structure at all, really. But come here. Thanks a million for coming on again. Because as I said, I know you're flat out. And what I came across from Keith Barry's interview there back
Oh,
in
the
May, I
open
think it
minds.
was. That's right. And I'd say that's probably where a lot of people probably became aware of you. So I was following you on Instagram since, and Jesus, you're up the walls.
Yeah, well, I won't lie, it's actually been a quieter Halloween because, you see, I always say, like, there's so many social media platforms. Like, obviously, the likes of young people there, you're well up with your TikToks and all this. But you see, we had our Facebook, and we actually had a video go viral. Was it 2 years ago?
2 years ago, I'd say, yeah.
And that's what really put us on the map. So we were normally inundated from that, but about 2.5 months ago, the page got hacked. And like, that would have been my largest following. It would have been, like, that page was monetized. It was the largest following. It had an awful lot of more content on it because, of course, you'd had your videos. So unfortunately, the new page is only open with a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it was 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Yeah, only 2 or 3 weeks.
Fake it.
And so it's not even really showing up in rankings. So that has been a little quieter. But in saying that, as I say, we just did 2 nights in Redwood. Tomorrow night we have a private gig. Then Thursday I have a ghost tour with Anfela Ella and Killargan. Saturday we're doing stuff with ghost host Sophia Tumpere. She did the Queen Mary with the likes of Ghost Adventures. So yeah, so it's a full-on week, and 2 nights of lockdown would take it out of you, especially at my age. Do you know how hard the castle steps are, lads? We're dragging an axe up and down them. Do you know what I mean? It's
That's a lot,
tough
young
going.
fella.
Do you know, if you did them steps, you'd know all about it.
Oh, I'm telling you, the Dom's din, the delayed onset muscle soreness will kick in after a few days. But come here, I suppose, look, where did it all start, lads? Where did the interest come from? Was it something that was there since you were Babas, or was there a generation before you?
Well, bear in mind, we're two generations.
Yes.
Because like Leo's my son, and hence the age differences. But anyway, so I'll tell you actually how it began. When I was about, I'd say maybe as a teenager, I'd say about 17, 18, there was an incident happened. I was staying in a house. It was actually a family relative's house. And somebody passed and leaving passed in the bed. And a friend of mine was staying over and he was like, "Do you think I'm getting into a dead man's bed? You have nothing coming laughing." So I was like, "Well, feck you sleep on the floor. I couldn't care less. No one's going to harm me." So I thought, so I always say, two separate minds, two separate people, right? So at some hour in the morning, we both woke up at the same time, and all we saw was like a jelly-shaped man just run across the bottom of the room. And you know, when you finish someone else's sentences, I was like, "Did you see?" He was like, "What I saw," and I was like, "A see-through," and he goes, "Man." So that stuck with me. You know, it was like, kind of, how can two people see exactly the same thing?
Mhm.
But then time passes, but it didn't leave me, because when I was about maybe 8 or 9, we're farming background, small farmers. Let's just clear that up. Back in the day, but there was an incident where I was in this abandoned old cottage. There was a couple of us there. There was no back door, only a front door, and we were standing at the front door, all accounted for together, when there was a massive bang in the bedroom, and there was a buggy in a wig, and it had come off the top of the wardrobe and onto the buggy. So when this happened years later, it reminded me of that. And you know, if something niggles at you, it just doesn't seem to go. I wouldn't
Mhm.
be, listen, I don't have the highest IQ, but yet it was something that just kept niggling. Then I seen an ad about going on a ghost hunt. So I went, feck it. You know, I was going to go off. It was up in County Cavan. There's a Ross Castle up in County Cavan. So I went. Then I started going to a few more, got used to the trade. Now I was with that team, but unfortunately, as the years went on, people's life changes. Some people get married, they have kids, and so forth. Whereas Leo was dragged up, so he was always there in the background, you know. But at that stage, like, bear in mind, I'm at this now the guts of 20 years or more. So for Leo, when he was growing up, like most parents rear their kids with cartoons on the background. Leo was reared with ghost footage on, because you always have to go through your footage. So you're cooking the dinner, you're still got an eye on the cameras to see is there anything there. And he'd even say to me as a kid, he'd be like, Dad, I think I heard something. You want to go back and check that? So he was reared with this paranormal world. So then the time came where, like, that the rest of the people had stopped going, their lives are busy, but I still had the itch. I was like, I can't stop. So it gets into your veins, it gets into your blood, it becomes part of you, really, I suppose. And the problem with paranormal is, which I'll get to in a minute, is you're always end up with more questions than answers. It's not a case of game over or a movie over. There's always more questions. So my mom and Leo's grandmother, she was passing of cancer. So she said to me, like, why are you at home? Go way back out doing. I was kind of going, sure, there's no one, there's no team, so forth. She was like, but sure, you know all the places. Set up your own. So I did. And then Leo, I was like, you know what, you're of age, because we don't bring kids under 18-year-olds or any of that. And brought Leo on board. His partner, Eva, had already an insight into paranormal. They were both matched in it. So all of a sudden I had 3. Maria was she was on the past team. She came on board, and she's still there in the background, and she comes to the odd location. She does a lot of the background stuff for me. And then there was friends, there's Rory and Veronica. So all of a sudden we just had a team. It was just there. It was like as if it was just under my nose the whole time, but I didn't see the wood from the trees, as they say.
Is meant for you.
And then I started booking locations, getting back in touch with the people that I used to go to. And it's like everything, like even the likes of doing this podcast, everything is about, sorry about the table back, and I have a dog. But it's all about knocking on the doors to get in, because there's a couple of things about it. Like, we do public events, like we did the weekend, where we bring guests along with us. We do private when it's a private function or for someone else. Then we do charity if somebody's doing a fundraiser, like those people who want to do a fundraiser, they did sponsored stay in a haunted castle for a night. So we cover all the angles, but the core ethos is paranormal investigating. That's what we're doing. We're always looking for an answer, but you never get a clear cut. And I always say, like, if you watch those TV shows for 20, 40 minutes, whatever, what you see in their time makes it look all riveting. For us, it's patience. We start around 9:30, 10.
Yeah.
We keep going till 3 and 4, depending on the activity of the castle, because we let the castle, when I say castle, manor house, whatever the case may be, we let that guide us. So we're going all night. I could go back to the footage. You might get 5 minutes, you might get 4 minutes, you might get 3 reels, you might get 2 reels. You don't know what you're going to get. But the ultimate goal is obviously to get answers, because when you go back somewhere, it might be something you found in a previous investigation. You're going back trying to get answers for that now. And that's the thing. Everywhere is so different. You know what I mean? Like, one that I really love, but unfortunately it's gone into disrepair, is Duckett's Grove in Carlow. Carlow County Council, in fairness, gave us access. We were the last group in there. And they gave us a grove overnight. So when you get locations like that, you're very appreciative of the place, you know? So that's where it came from. And like that, we're now going 6 years. So Púca Vogue's going 6 years. The lockdown did hamper it, of course.
Yeah.
You know, but like that, we're up and moving on the road, and like we're trying to do more now. Next year, we're going to go to the UK. I just came back from the States a few weeks ago. I did investigations over there, and I was making new contacts over there. So we're possibly looking at a US visit next year. We will still have our Redwood. We laugh with Redwood Castle is like our home. We have a joke. The country house, because we're from the bog. The townhouse, because I live in Clarny, and in the castle. So we're like, are we going to the country house, the townhouse, or the castle? Like, just far from the castle, we were reared. Do you know what I mean? But we go back to Redwood a lot, because I always say, right, if you think about your friends call to you. The more they call to you, your friendship grows. The more you talk about, the more you're comfortable. So people would often say to me, why do you go to Redwood so much? For that same reason. Because we keep going back. We all the time get something.
Hey,
up your chair. Up your chair. Come on. The rescue was very needy. You know, he's like myself. But
Mad for a belly rub.
so like that's where it came from, do you know?
Brilliant. Come here. What's the story with Redwood Castle? What's the background there?
So what I love about Redwood is, and I always say to people, you know, go and visit these places by day and get a feel for them. But with Redwood Castle, what I love about it is, it was actually at one stage a total ruin, right? There was cows and all inside there. It was literally a shell. So Calissa's father, Michael Egan, he was actually a Knight of Order of Malta. He brought the castle back to what you see today with no government funding. He funded it himself. And Calista, of course, is his daughter, and she's now the caretaker of the castle as part of the family. But so they have a big tie to Order of Malta. Like, even there's a chapel in there, and when people go in, I always say to them, look at the altar. You'll see the logo of Order of Malta. I go look up the stained glass windows. You'll see that there, because he was a knight. And there's a head in there that he bought when he wanted Jerusalem, Holy Land. So, and they have parts of, say, a tabernacle out of a convent. But Redwood has so much history because it was like a teaching. It was a teaching college. It also was involved in a lot of takeovers between different clans. It was very much about education and documentation. So it had a very strong Irish history from that side of life. It was always from the gentry side. But there is one part where there was a rebel, Meany they call him, Colin Meany. He was on the battlement. James, yeah, where's I get from? That's the dog with his time because it's distracted. James Meany, and he was hiding on the battlements and got shot in the battlements when he was captured. So that's Redwood Castle carries so much down through the years. And in there, like, you have a priest's room, you have a chapel. Like, when you go in the door, you have the ground floor. Then you have the priest's room, you have the chapel. Then up above that, you've got the main hall, the Great Hall. And above that, you have another hall. And there's two side balconies to that. And then you have the battlements. But there's also then down the back stairs, there is a guard room where that would be used for the murder hole, where they throw the liquid down long go. And the great thing with Redwood is 15 minutes from Leap Castle. And Leap Castle is claimed to be Ireland's most haunted. Because, of course, Leap Castle was burnt down with it 3 times.
Yeah.
And there, with that castle, it's associated a lot with Mildred Darby, black magic. There's a bloody chapel where one brother slashed the throat of another brother who was a priest saying mass. There's an obelete where there was cartloads of bones taken out of the obelete when they were doing up the castle. And Sean Ryan, the owner, Sean and Anne, are legends in their own right. Like, he travels the world playing music. His daughter's in Riverdance. So these people are the core of what I believe is the real Ireland, and preserving what's there, or trying to maintain. So when we do it, like, yes, we're getting our paranormal investigation, but we're also helping, might be a tiny, small fraction, we're helping to keep these places alive as well. But Redwood Castle, I always say, we're only saying this the weekend. When I first started, even we'll say, we were talking this, when you first go to a location, there was times I wouldn't even close my eyes. I was praying for daylight, couldn't wait to see the daylight come through the window. Now something could happen, and sometimes we'll just stand there and kind of go, yeah. There will be times then we'll get a hop. Like, I got a hop Sunday night. Yeah, Sunday night. Yeah, so Sunday night I got a hop. And I always say, for a fat man, I can run when things go wrong. Do you know what I mean?
The hero goes standing
Well,
there.
you're definitely. I'd say, lads, in fairness to you, you're probably the bravest guys we've had on our podcast. But you must have seen some stuff that's shaken you along the way.
I always say the one for me, and I'll let you say your feeling, what your one is. The one for me was definitely Wicklow Jail. So I was down in solitary confinement, and I was down there with a group. I had my back against the wall, and I had my hands, behind my back, because the walls, the cold that comes off those buildings is unbelievable. Do you ever know someone is standing in front of you nose to nose, but yet you physically know there's no physical body there, right? The only way I can explain it to you is, I knew there was someone at the end of my nose. I knew it was a man. They was right there. The only way I can explain this to you, and I'm going to sound crazy and off my nut, like people kind of go, put that man in an asylum. Do you know what I mean? But it was like he just put his head in through mine. Jesus. And it was the most freakiest thing that's ever happened to me in any investigation. And I took off. So I went from solitary confinement, ran up the stairs. I actually was like, I'm out. I'm out of this investigation. I'm done. I just never had anything like it before. I just felt a line had been crossed. And they got me to settle down. we went back to it, and I kept saying, "Jesus, my face is roasting. My cheekbone on my face, it was just that area, was getting hotter and hotter. And if you put your hand up near my skin without even touching it, you'd feel the heat coming off it." So all night this was going on. We finished investigation, and we decided to go back and watch. Did I scrape off a wall? Did I hit off a wall? Whatever. And I couldn't remember doing it, but you can't always assume everything's paranormal. You have to come at it with a logical edge. You have to look at each situation. So I didn't hit off anything, nothing. But yes, when we went back to the jail, there were talks about Jack the Jailer. So Jack the Jailer was in that area, solitary confinement. He was a real evil, I won't say the word I'd love to say, but he was a real evil man. But part of what he loved doing was torture. And he used to actually brand people on their faces and cheekbones.
Wow.
Now, there was 3 triangular marks, but the only connection we could put it down to is that it was solitary confinement. And it was quite interesting. Maria and myself were in there doing it at the time, and Maria was, we'll say, on the side of telling him what she thought of him. And I was coming at the nice side going, maybe you want forgiveness. So we actually reckon he kind of went, "Listen, this guy is soft and I'm going to teach him a lesson." Because the same man would not want forgiveness. He would have wanted you to have fear. So that's the only
That is mad.
setup. That is my big one. What would yours be, Leo?
I don't know. I'd say we've had loads of kind of mad things happen, but I'd say the scariest thing for me was say Redwood. There was one night we're on the stairs. We kept hearing like weird noises and stuff coming up the stairs and chapping and things. And you kind of you see kind of shadows and stuff out of the corner, right? So we went down. There was a couple of us sitting on the stairs. And we were kind of doing our calling out like during the investigation and things. I don't know what it was, but heard kind of like a growling noise.
With the growl, yeah.
It was like something, but whatever I looked, it was like I could see something coming up the stairs towards me, and I was bolted. I left it like 4 or 5 and sitting on the stairs, and I was gone. So I know the rest of them didn't bother seeing nothing in it, but you could see me just going flying past the camera. I was leaving for dust today, and I said, "Nah, good luck."
And you see, that's the thing, like Leo says about the stairs. So like in Redwood, it's the stairs would be an active part of the castle. Like they're the second last investigation, and I was testing a body cam for the States, whereas normally it was an area that was blacked out. We didn't have a camera on. So we're all outside the chapel and the priest when we're calling out. The 2 from Limerick actually were sitting on the stairs. And next thing like that, the door below us opens up where there's nobody down there. And these are thick, solid wooden doors. They're not your one that a bit of wind can push forward. Because as I say, you have to look at the factors of the environment as well. And like you would twist these latches and it's a solid push of a wooden door. And the door actually opened. We went down, and sure enough, it's on the camera. As we go down, the door is open. So again, there was nobody down there. It's a totally sealed area. There is no draft. There is no wind. It's a solid wooden door. The latch is there on it. So who was it? Do you know what I mean? Or a good one I do enjoy is, are you familiar with Tarbert, Bridewell and Gale?
No. You know? No.
So we've been going there, and it's actually going to be our last investigation this year. And so we were there this night. My apologies, guys. That dog, I'll kill him. Kobe.
He's grand. Throw up there on the table, sir.
You must be joking.
Throw up at the table.
He walks me, not me walk him. But
lovely fella.
So in Tarbert, right? So we, as I said to you there earlier on, we don't bring kids. We don't bring under 18-year-olds, right? We were locked down from, was it 8:30?
8:30 to about what, 2 o'clock?
2? Yeah, so 8:30 to 2 we were locked down. Only ourselves with the person that gives us access, who actually now joins us on the investigations. Building sealed, doors locked, nobody else in or out. Because you have to control your environment in an investigation. We were doing it, and all of a sudden when we were listening back, we heard the child in the night, but we didn't hear it fully. Then you have to wait till we watch the footage, got to the clip, and in the background, sure enough, was ha ha, in a child's tone, in a child's voice. But we had no child in the building. We had no kids in the building. And that's the other thing, is like people always think of ghosts, spirits, whatever you want to call them, whatever tagline a person uses. They always think of, let's say, demonic, and they always think of nasty and all this, but there's actually kids out there as well. Now, don't get me wrong, they can play with you as good as the adults, you know what I mean? But if, again, there was no child on the location. So I always say, it's not my place to tell either the 2 of you lads, believe in what I do. What I say to people is, Give me 20 minutes or so. I'll show you some clips. You make your own mind up. Even when I'm sharing things, I kind of go, I leave it up to you to decide. Anything I share, I stand over. I have my recordings. I don't edit them with any special effects or any of this. They're coming from old Sony Handycams. Photography wise, we use a lot of Instax, which is not digitally, if we're doing photography on investigations. And that's what I say. And then if someone really does challenge me, I'll go, do you know what, right, big boy, come on, go on an investigation with us. Lock yourself down with us for the night, because that's the great thing. When you're honest and open with what you do, you have nothing to hide. That's the great thing.
100%.
So, like, I don't make it, I'm not to hide, but it gives me access to a world and to locations and the team to something that we can't fully explain. There's no rhyme or reason. I do have a reason, Hate. I've said this to you before. When you think about the amount of people that die, and then when you're on investigation, the amount of EVPs or what you get, the balance is very off. If you look at a building that's had loads of people through it, and you might only pick up a few, now we're grateful to meet a few, but the numbers don't add up. Do you know what I mean? So, like, it is very interesting. And then there's, like, as I say, you've got residual, which is to the building. Personal, could be associated with a person. Intelligent, that they'll actually answer back what you're asking. So you have so many different angles. Like, if one of the funniest I've ever seen was a convalescent home in Carlow, and Maria was saying, "Can you knock twice?" And an EVP was captured of a male voice going, "Knock, knock." And I thought, no, that's hilarious.
Wow,
And
there's a bit of humor there.
Yeah. Now, as I say, like, there's humor, but there's also, like, there was another investigation where the women were called a pack of S. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it can go one way and go the other. The EVPs that always catch me is if I hear "help me." That's the one that catches me. And actually, in Tarbert Jail upstairs, there's a metal bat. Remember the old style metal bat? Well, I don't know if you guys remember that. They used to be filled with water long ago. They were solid metal.
Yes, yeah, out in their own, yeah.
So the camera was facing onto the bat.
Yeah.
There was nobody in the area to at the time. We were downstairs.
No, one long after setting up.
One long after setting up, yeah. And there was nobody in the room, right? And you can actually hear the bang to the bat, but there's nobody in the room. And then on that, I think it's the same investigation, there was a male voice that, again, in the empty room goes, "Help me." So, like, they're the ones. It's like there's a couple of, like, I'd say we were only just talking about this before we did Halloween, because I think I put a clip up with some of them, and I was like, I think about 5-6 times now over my course I've got these "help me's," and when you hear those, they can give you the chills, because why would you ask for help unless you need help? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Come here. What's the most unsettling site or castle or building wherever that you've been to? Has there been any one that has rightly spooked you in terms of?
Well, I won't lie to you. I do say Redwood deserves the time. Like, Lep is claimed as Ireland's most haunted, but I have to say Redwood as a castle. You see, I suppose I'm very analytical as well. If you drove into Lep tomorrow morning, you would be mesmerized when you would turn that corner as you drive in and see this castle in front of you. If you were to turn the lights out there by night and you're in there, you will feel every bit of the fear, because the atmosphere is creating it as well. If you went to Redwood, it'll start off soft, but as the investigation goes, but you have more rooms to investigate in Redwood. So from an investigation point of view, you have less contamination and more ground to cover in one versus the other. Both I've never walked away from nothing, but I will say, and like, everybody has their own location. I'm going to ask you yours in a moment, but I was in that castle, and in the bloody chapel, the ground is gravel. Right? So we all know gravel, you walk in it, you hear the footsteps moving.
Yeah.
So myself and Maria were up at the very top. She had a camera facing on me. I just lay out completely the ground. My motto was, I'm going to be vulnerable. I'm going to let you get me. Because sometimes you'll go, like, what can I do to get this moving? So we've been hearing noises from the abolete, and I told you what an abolete is. And, like, bear in mind, right, an abolete was down by the altar. There was spikes going up through it. So they would catch you, throw you down through those spikes, and you'd be left there to die. You did not come up and come out of an abolete. And when they were doing that, they took cartloads of bones out of that abolete. So it's a very active area. Bear in mind, then the altar was in front. The priest was saying mass when O'Carroll's brother came in and slashed his throat, because it was disrespectful to have started the mass before he arrived. So there is a history there. And then the castle is also tied in with Mildred Darby and black magic and the elemental. So the elemental is like a shapeshifter. She used to use black magic. So there's quite a lot of dark and death, especially with Lip. But coming back, I suppose, to the story, because I do talk, I do ramble, right? But I was laying on the ground. I put an Irish Army medal on my stomach. I was trying to think of battles, wars, vulnerability. What can I do here? So everybody else was downstairs. Two of us went at it. Maria totally up against the wall with a camera, no movement. As I'm laying there, I could hear, we'll say, the noises coming from the obelisk. You could feel like there was someone coming, but it was just building. Because you often feel it yourself. And I was like, come on, come forward, come closer, knock the medal completely off my stomach. I'm here, I'm vulnerable, do whatever you want to do. I was still kind of going, come on, you've got to land here to the slaughter. So sure enough, next thing, I say I hadn't stopped talking with a matter of minutes. The footsteps started coming from out of the obelisk. Then the gravel, as it came over towards me, I could hear every footstep of the gravel coming closer to me. And I won't lie, I was getting a bit, do you know when you ask for something and then when you're getting it, you're kind of going, why did I do that? Right? Yeah. And Maria, I think, knew I was getting uneasy. She was like, you can stay there. Right? She was only worried about what she was going to capture. So I stayed there anyway. And like, next thing, I could feel like the hand brush across me. And off goes the medal.
Ooh.
So like that, and then the other part was sense of smell. I was in an area of the castle that we get access to, and I was there with Alan and Pamela.
Yeah, so yeah, I think it was Alan Pamela.
And I've been calling for the elemental. We were getting direct expanses in EVP, and there's most unreal rotting flesh smell. Now I've only ever got that once in Lip. I've tried to, and that's insane. There's no guarantees, there's no setups. We can't tell you what's going to happen, but when you smell that stench and you're getting DVPs, because you have to be ready for, can something happen to me? We know they can use force, so you have to be a little bit wary at the background of it as well. Do you know what I mean? Now, as I say, I fear the living more than the dead, but yeah, so they would be, I suppose, mine. I'm talking all the time. I better let him get a word in his ways.
Amir, quick one there, right? So you're talking about, let's say, entities, we'll call them, that can give off force. Is that a poltergeist then? You know the way people class them?
Yeah. You see, I always say it can be quite confusing, especially with horror movies and everything, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's putting taglines and names. Like some people would say ghosts, some would say spirits. I actually say a lot of the time man, woman, child, because they lived. Right? So that's kind of how I go. Or if there's a history or I'm getting a name, I'll go by their name. Like we would have William in Wicklow jail, so I would ask for William. So poltergeist, it's been really theatricalized, I suppose, through the movies of like empty kitchens, the doors opening and things going flying. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, I wouldn't say poltergeist. Like, I've never encountered a poltergeist activity where everything just goes flying. Now, there was a house in Dublin years ago. It was a private location a friend of mine arranged. Very expensive house in a really good area. The owners wouldn't live there anymore. The wife had even a bucket of paint thrown at her from upstairs to downstairs. So their house was very much class to that, and they called us in, and we went and we did it. And I actually left the first night going, geez, I didn't get anything. But when I watched back the cameras, it was crazy. Like the place, like even when we were gone, you could hear our bags being gone through and everything. You could hear our stuff being moved, and there was nobody there. But the back door was sealed. There was only the front door. There was no electricity. Like it was literally at it. And I will say, like, there was two things that on the second investigation. There was an old phone called Aircom phone watch. You'd pick up a big handle for the dial would say like emergency services. We were all in one room inside the front door because there was no heating or anything, so we're all together. We heard it ding dong. Simple. By doorbell. That's like it's no electricity. We went out and we tested the doorbell, dead right, didn't work. We started looking around, we started metal bars and then banging. We were trying everything to mimic this sound. We were like, where did it come from? So we were down the stairs because it's Georgian, so you're going down the stairs like under the ground. And went down and the phone was there, and sometimes you just try to break the atmosphere of it. And I picked up the phone. As I picked it up, I said like ET. I was going to say ET phones home just to kind of lighten the mood of it. When I picked it up and I was just began to talk, there was the ding. We all looked at each other. I put the phone back down. There was the dong. So again, you had everything in one room upstairs. The back door is concreted up. There was nobody down there. We held sealed. Who picked up the phone? The interesting thing then is, and this clip is actually on the website because it's not on the socials thing now. So the same stairs, I had the camera down, we'll say where the coal bunker was, where they used to drop coal down from the street. So the camera is facing stairs up and the corridor. Okay. Nobody comes up, nobody goes down. Yes, there's a bang, and you can hear our voice in the distance above, and just near the camera, again, you can hear, help me. So something was trying to get our attention, but that was one house where objects certainly were being moved around, whether you want to classify as poltergeist, but that would have been the closest location to it that I would have seen. Like, you'll have doors open. Like, we were in the priest room, do you remember in Redwood?
Yeah.
We were in the priest room in Redwood one night, all in the priest room. And as I said, these latches, the old latches, you twist them, they're solid doors to open, right?
Requires effort,
we're-
like.
We're sitting inside there and the door starts hammering. Do you know when you have someone that has the handle and they're pushing it in and out, but it's not opening? They're trying to get into the room. And we're all just amazed at the time because we knew we were all in the room. There was nobody outside the door. And we kept saying, come on, come into the room, open the door, come into the room. Sure enough, the door opens. So like, I always say, what do you classify as poltergeist? Because the movies theatralize it as a kitchen with flying size saucepans.
Yeah.
But if you look at an investigation and you've got someone like that that's forcefully pushing a door and a door opens, is that not along the same thing?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head, PJ. These entities, whatever you want to call them, they lived before. They were a human being,
Right.
man, woman, child, hit well in the head, be class. See, as you said there, it's all down to movies. It's all whatever is in the mainstream, and especially even the Conjuring movies. I don't know to even bother going to see them because they're so theatrical. You wonder what the fuck is real, like, you know.
Because like even we were talking, like you seen it, I didn't. Do you know what I mean? But like I don't even get time for movies. If I
Yeah.
said to you, movement wise on a location, what would be the one for you? How about Duckett's Grove? Yard.
Yeah, it was grand, like sure you kind of hear footsteps kind of here and there. I think Redwood kind of has top of the list for me, and instead
Yeah, that's always your.
you'd always get more things. I feel in Redwood kind of that. I don't know. There's something there about it, but I don't know.
I will say though, the one thing I don't allow. Well, I don't mean I. Well, it was a rule I brought in, but it's one we abide as a team. No Ouija. I will not do an investigation with
Yeah.
Ouija board on site.
Have you ever used one?
I unfortunately not through paranormal, not through Púca Vogue Paranormal. So if anyone's
Yeah.
listening to this, we don't do Ouija boards. But personally, myself, in my youth, I made the mistake of being part of them on 3 different occasions. Not one of them ended up good. So
Okay.
I made the statement from a long time ago. No to Ouija. Absolutely not.
Like I'd have that. I'd love to sit in an investigation at some stage, but I probably shit the dogs to be honest. But
Not
Ouija,
me, but
we
on
we
occasions, forget it.
Ouija board, not a hope. You don't know
No.
what you're bringing into your life.
Absolutely not. It's the one thing I always say. After those experiences, I swore, I made a promise, never again. Because I often get asked about religion and ghost hunting, and I often say like it's actually combined before my time. There's a prayer to Archangel Michael. If you actually go back and read the writing of the prayer, it's to the souls, both the living and the dead, who roam the earth. So that was wrote long before my time. But they were already talking about this before we ever began it. And for investigations, we use Archangel Michael. We call him in to protect us before, and that nothing can come home with us, because you do run that risk of something attaching as well. Luckily, we've never had that. Do you know what I mean? Thank God.
What's on his anyway?
No, not that we know of. Only once ever I left the place. There was an old church being sealed. I won't say the location, and we got permission to go in. And it was an interesting one, as I said, about photography. So Maria was inside the church. I was taking a picture with a digital camera that time, but every one I took, there was like the colors were being drawn out. So I actually cleaned the lens, turned it off, turned it on. I said to her, stay put. She was like, don't tell me what you're seeing. So I said, same thing was happening again. So I said, ask to go to your hand. So when I went to her hand, all the colour was drying out and like a cloud around her. I asked to go to her feet. Same thing. So wherever it was asked to go, it was happening. And on the same investigation, we were outside and somebody thought I was standing in a grave. I wasn't even there. I was in a different area. And they still swear that I was standing there. But as we left, we were outside the wall and we got a real strong smell of incense. And it was so strong, it actually kind of freaked us all a little bit. We were finished, we were going home. It just felt a bit off. Remember I was saying this to you?
Yeah.
And next thing, we were there, we just decided, you know what, we're just going to call it good night. We were all leaving very uneasy because there was graves near this church. It was a church. We were going home. There was the incense. It just wasn't right. We had seen shadows. We had, of course, the colours. So myself and Maria were in the car. We were chatting away. The equipment was off, but starts activating in the car. And next thing, the car went ice cold. And we stopped for a few moments. We were like, double check that. And she double checked, and it's like, it is off. So it was off. It was battery operated, but yet it's going off. And then the car was ice cold. It unnerved us to the point our driving was a lot more careful going home. We just went had something. That'd be the only time I would ever say I was kind of worried about have something brought, because it's interesting. Like, we are father and son, and I met a lady years ago, Mary Stacey. She used to do angels and support teams before our social media, where now everybody can find out something about somebody by Googling us, right? And I met this woman. I'm not into psychics. I don't claim to be psychic. I'm not medium. We don't ever claim them. I actually believe every whole person can be sensitive when you strip away the distractions. It's like when people say, why do you investigate by night? If you're sitting in a room with the lights off, everything else is turned off, you feel the room. You can actually feel when a room goes tense. You can feel when it goes flat. Your senses are heightened. You'll sense smell. You'll hear more. Your eyes are adjusted. You'll see shadows. So that's the difference. When you strip away all the distractions around you, that's why you can become more sensitive. So she, anyway, was able to tell me stuff about family members of mine that have passed that I never met. I couldn't say she was right or wrong because I didn't know the answers at the time. And she's asked me to stop ghost hunting. She was like, do you know what? They don't agree with it. When you go into a room, you're like a ball of light. So they're just going to come at you. And she was we were laughing. She was kind of saying a priest. I was like, I'd be a bad egg of a priest anyway. Do you know what I mean? I'm no angel, do you know? But, and she said it was coming from the bloodline. She was like, your grandmother had it. Your mother got blocked. You have it. And your son. So I kind of took it all with a pinch of salt. Now, lovely woman. I really respect what she does. But at that time, I took it as a pinch of salt because I knew no different. And I never do claim anything to do with psychics, mediums.
And how long ago was this, PJ? Sorry for
Jeez,
interrupting.
that's going back. Leo was only a kid at the time. I'd say you're talking the guts of maybe 18 years ago, I suppose.
That's mad, even saying it back then, like, yeah.
Yeah, and then it was interesting how things come about. So I came home and I told my mother, because she told me something about my mother going to her family graves. The descriptions were spot on. The mannerisms, she explained mannerisms of how they acted, so I could explain them to my mother. My mother just sat down. Then I said, you were going to the grave asking a question, and she gave me the answer. And my mother started crying. She was like, how could you know this? Like, she couldn't have felt it off me because I didn't know it. It's the way they say sometimes they can read people. You can't read something I don't even know myself.
Right? That's a fact.
Yeah, so like that's the part that got me the most. And it was interesting. Then years later, Leo was in the house, and there was people doing. They had like a psychic night, and they brought this girl in and whatever. And she pinpointed Leo that he was very sensitive from his family line. So it was interesting. Two separate people, many years apart, because you were what age then?
I suppose I was 11 or 12 at that time.
Yeah, you were 11 or 12 at that stage. And she picked up on that. It was, I wasn't even there that night. I wasn't even in the house. I wasn't even in my house. It was nothing to do with me. Do you know what I mean?
Man.
So there is no rhyme or reason. Sorry, no, lads. I'm doing an awful lot of talking.
And sure, we love it. We love it. Sure, that's what you're here for.
Place.
You're in the right place.
It's a crazy world I live in. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But come here, Leo, even for yourself there, like, going through school, like, you know, all the lads at school be talking about soccer, hurling, football, blowing carry. And then there's yourself, like, involved, your dad at the ghost hunting, that's it. Like, what kind of conversations were they at lunch or with the boys, you know? Must have been madness.
Or I suppose we're always kind of there, you chatting away and stuff like that anyways, but it's not really.
Mm.
So I suppose no one really took much notice of it back then here, like, you know, it was kind of just one of them things like,
I think
Right.
people are more curious.
yeah, they'd always
I
kind
think
of
they're
be
more
asking questions,
curious.
you know.
Because,
Yeah,
of course, most parents are probably at home, whereas I wasn't. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah. And did you ever turn one of the boys, Leo, one of the buddies, did you ever turn, he was a pure skeptic and he said, I'll go out with you to have a look. And then he said, I don't believe any of that. And he turned, he ended up as white as a ghost, as you could say.
No, I'd say even Rory, kind of, when he started coming with us, one of my friends, he's part of the team as well. Like, he was kind of always a bit on and off about it or whatever. But I definitely, when he got his couple of hops and seen some things were happening, he definitely turned into a full believer after that. Then anyway, so
Yeah, I think that's the difference. When you experience it yourself, when you, like, as I say, coming back to the 20 minutes, but I think when you're there and you see, you know, you've been there, we're there that night, when something happened, or the recording is seen afterwards online, because it takes so long between investigation to get a court, I think that's the difference. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
And like, experiencing it is something different. But we were only talking as well the weekend about this, about the people that want it.
yeah.
So we'll just say now the two of you were going, right? And one of you really wants something to jump out of the wall and frighten you and give you all this. And the other person's coming along kind of going, listen, I'm only just scared to keep them company. They're not really kind of bothered, they're just there. We have to find the person that's just there, not bothered, has the experience versus the one that's wanting it. It's like if you've the too much of a want, it's ignored. And it's interesting, like there is no rhyme or reason, and that's why all we can do is investigate, but we end up with more questions than answers.
But they link that to a lot of paranormal experiences, even with, say, UFOs there and things, right? I don't know if you ever hear that. The same idea again. Always someone that goes out to, like, I'd love to see a UFO. Have I seen one? No. Like, and it could be someone just driving down the road and they could see something. Not know what it is. You know, a paranormal experience again. So I don't know, maybe it's something, some kind of energy, the person themselves kind of, they're syncing with something. And maybe there's that attraction there.
And you see, we often say people see things, but they actually don't, in a way. Some people are blinded. Or it's like I say to people, if you're taking pictures of a building, zoom in on the windows. Now, you always have to watch your matrix thing, of course, if you're zooming in with pixels and so forth, but the amount of time people have photographic evidence themselves, they don't realize that it might be years later before they even spot it.
Yeah.
Like, I remember even with Leo as a kid, I did, and again, it was New Year's Eve, a New Year's Day night. I was there with Maria, and of course, again, most normal people are dying of a hangover and go for the cure. We decide to die of a hangover, let's do an investigation now. So we're like, we put on the camera, took out the K2s and so forth, and you just had one male, one female in the room. So the K2 meter was going off. The lights were reacting, but we weren't really getting much more. There wasn't much happening. And I was even dragging on a fag at the time, and I was kind of going, okay, do you not want to give your name? And like, just as I'm talking, next thing, a male voice comes over. And it goes, okay, Francis. And it was a very early capture when my learning days. And I got so focused on that, I thought, this is brilliant. Totally different tone. And that's the thing, when you're listening, you have to listen to the tones of the voices, right? Because only when we were doing stuff for the website, and Leo was here one night, himself and Eva, and I was showing him that recording. He was like, do you remember this? And it was playing away. I would tap out to the kitchen. Next thing was I went through the doors to go into the kitchen, and I must have never pressed play the rest of the recording. Next thing was the male voice went, Leo. And for years that sat unknown. Because I never finished. I obviously got so focused on that one capture, I never actually left to play out to the end.
Jeez.
And
Unreal.
I was like, did I just hear that? And they were like,
Unreal.
yeah. So even in our own home, that was called. But we can't find any connection to Francis. Nothing. Nada. Like we've traced the house back to day one. There's no Francis associated with it. But the only thing is, like, that shadows have often been seen, but there is a water crossing near there as well. And activity used to always kind of, you'd see shadows so forth when the rain was heavier. Do you know what I mean? So it is. It's a very quirky world.
Yeah. Oh, come here. What would be your equipment on a night out generally?
Okay, so we have 5 to 6 cameras running. So we pick the hotspots, and we'll set up cameras in the rooms that we previously would catch our
To the most
activity.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to be honest, we don't travel light, and we couldn't do it without each other because we don't. There is a lot to it. We turn up about 2 hours ahead, at least 2.5 hours ahead. We set up 5 to 6 cameras. They'll record from, some of them are 8 hours, some of them are 10 hours. Then we will use RIM pods. So we have, I just stop and think, 1, 2, 3. We have 3 RIM pods. We have an Annabelle doll RIM pod, which of course from the movies, the Sherlock, you have to have one. We have a teddy bear for, obviously, if it's towards the child, it might come towards it. So, and then we have another one which is temperature. So a RIM pod is, there's an aerial, either like the teddy bear, it's in the belly of the teddy bear and on the head, the rest is exposed. As a human hand will say, it would come towards it, it will increase with energy and of course EMFs, and you'll see the lights, the LED lights will light up, they'll get stronger the closer it comes to it. But, and this is the but, I always say I'm like the bold teacher in the investigations, because I'm like, mobile phones off, upstairs, or airplane modes, because they can affect it. The other thing that can affect it is if there was some bunch of wiring behind the wall. Now, because we're doing it so long, we'll know when the equipment is being affected by something natural, because it'll continuously stay or go at that.
You tell the difference.
You tell. Versus we'll say, well, it should go off. So we use the RIM pods, and then one of those RIM pods as well is temperature. So it will activate when it gets a sudden increase of either heat or cold. And I remember even we were doing Redwood, the group was around this big large table that was in the center, and the temperature was actually reacting to the questions we were asking. We were asking them to increase it. So you have then you have the K2 meter, which is working a similar method. So you turn it on, it's got 5 lights, 6.
5 or 6 lights, yeah.
It's amazing. We look at this thing for so long, we try and think how many lights, but it goes all the way up to red. So you might say, okay, can you light 2 lights for yes, or bring it up to red for no? And when I first started ghost hunting, that used to be a big tool, and we used to go off a lot. We don't get much activity from that.
The odd time, no, yeah.
Yeah. So then we have the lasers, where if you break the laser, the alarm will sound. We have trigger objects. So we do trigger objects of everything and anything. Like I actually wore for Halloween this year, I got 2 different priest specimens, wore them together on the one night in the priest's room. So I was trying to be nearly trigger object myself. But then, like, I'll buy artifacts from different places. The one that really works for us is we have an Irish Army Medal of Good Conduct. And that actually goes very well in the priest's room in Redwood. We put a motion ball on top. So you have the RIM pod, you'd have the trigger objects of all different types. We have a tripwire. So if you cross over it, it will also light up and put on an alarm. We use anything that will either give us light or sound to activity. And always objects that are light enough to be used, but not too light that if the wind is going to just move it, what's the point? Do you know what I mean? So we use an awful lot of different things. And as I said, trigger objects, we just try different things, different times, and different locations. Like some places, some things will work more, or even reenactment, like locking someone up or jailing them. So, but our equipment, like our cases, you're talking a hell of a lot of trigger objects. You're talking, then we also have a device where if you put your finger over 2 LEDs, you don't touch it. If you break it with a sensor, it'll go yes and no. We use an Instax camera, which is great, of course, because it's instant pictures at that time.
We have the spirit box as well.
Yes, we have a spirit box. So we use a spirit box if we're doing the Estes method. So we'll just say, like, you're wearing headphones there now. We'd send one off to one side with the spirit box with headphones.
You can cover the eyes as well, like full sensory deprivation thing.
See, he's great for the big words. See that? He's great for the big words. And then you might put someone on the other side. So they'll ask the questions. You're trying to get the answers to come through the spirit box to match. But if you're not, then because it can pick up through frequency different words. So if nothing is matching, then you know, game over. It's not working for you tonight. Whereas if it is working, where the pattern is answering the questions, and you know the investigator can't see nor hear you, and they're in a different area, then that gives you validation towards the method. We also do mirror scrying and glass scrying. So you would use a mirror, you would have soft lighting to the one side, you would ask them to show them you through your face, and that's down to the person how open they are, but you can actually see people's faces change in the mirror. Then we've done the double, which is like a red light with a see-through pane of glass, two people, one each side. Same thing, only that you're literally calling it back to the other person to see what they're doing. What else have we got? I feel we're like missing loads.
We'd have the dowsing rods already tried.
Dowsing rods. We have the pendulum.
Pendulum, yeah.
How
So, like,
effective are them rods, do you think?
dowsing rods are down to the person.
Yeah.
What I like to do is I like to use two sets. So for example, this weekend we had guests that were going using ones they brought themselves. So then we gave another guest our own set. Now we'll always guide as to how to use them. So if you have two sets doing the same thing, perfect. If you have two that aren't and they're going different ways, and you see, because you're relying on the person to hold them correctly, not have too much pressure on, have too much pressure on, you're down to the user. So that's down to the user. But I suppose one instance is Tarbert. In Tarbert, we were trying to use them. It would not work. It just kept shooting straight away to one area, just kept shooting. And funny enough, in that same area, the tripwire alarm kept going off. So it was like, and you see, sometimes you'll play cat and mouse. Like Redwood's desperate for that, isn't it?
Yeah. Like you could be down in like the bottom floor of the chapel or something, and there could be something happening above you, or vice versa, you hear a door slamming somewhere else, and you might go after, but then the noise would be like where you were before it or something like that as well. So
Chasing
like
around the
that,
place. Yeah.
it's like as if sometimes you can have someone trying to block the energies coming through, and they don't want you there, so they make a loud bang somewhere else. So you'll go, of course, to that, and you don't know what you're missing in the next. And the amount of stuff that's caught, will say, behind our backs. Do you know what I mean?
That's where the cameras kick in. Sure, the cameras, you'll be lost without them.
And actually, even a good one was, remember the live we did there? Was it back in February? Was it, or was it the end of last year? Blow the whistle.
it was February, I think, wasn't it?
So we did a live. So sometimes we do a live, and we just do a live simply just to let people see kind of what we do.
Class.
Sorry, no, guys, there's a thing after popping on the screen. I'm just going to get rid of it so that we can see it. But
No panic.
we were doing the live, and it's just kind of give people an insight. And it's tough because the locations we're in, they're not really Wi-Fi enabled. There's no Wi-Fi boxes. You're reliant on the phone. So it's one of those cases of S or burst. Do you know what I mean? But we were doing the live, and I can't whistle. I'm a crap. I just can't whistle. So Leo is like our whistler, and I was like, Joe, can you give a whistle? Can you copy this? And next thing as we turned around, continued, the whistle came back up the stairs. And it was great because people heard it at the time. They were commenting of, oh my God, we just heard that. And I love that day because you've now really shown them, even though it's only like in 1 second, but in 1 second, you've shown people what we do, why we do it.
It's authentic, like, yeah.
And they could see everybody was in the room. You could hear the echo of it come up the stairs. So that was quite a cool one as well.
So you've been to Myrtle Plantation, is that right?
That's right. I love the Myrtles.
Can you tell us a bit about that? Because I read somewhere that like 80% of investigators that go out there will find something or hear something.
Absolutely. I won't lie to, like, it happened for me by pure accident. I was going to Mardi Gras with my friends, and when I realized the Myrtles were only an hour away, I was like, oh, I can't be this 1 hour away. I have to go. So I left my friends and hired a car and drove out there. So I booked myself in. Now I booked the doll room, not even knowing, because I like to go in blank. I like to go in with no conception. So I turned up to the plantation. They were going to do a tour. They were like, oh, we'll show you your room and everything. So they brought me to this room. North of a lie, lads, there must have been about 50 dolls in this room, and the eyes just all looking at me. I said,
Jesus Christ.
I was like, no. I says, I'm not doing this room.
I'm running from that.
I was like, nah. I says, there's no way I can sleep in here on my own anyway. So then they gave me a Sterling room, the rough and Sterling room across the hall, which was the dinner room. So I was like, that's more up my street. Perfect, thank you very much. So I said, how many guests are sleeping here tonight? Just you. And I kind of looked at her. I was like, just me. And I was like, well, where's the caretaker? She was like, he's in the cottage on the ground. Because when I was there, it was before the fire they had there a few years ago. So I was there pre-fire. That was fine. Brought me down, did the tour. Your woman turns up in the big costume and everything. Fantastically done. Great history of the house. And you got to learn like Chloe would be their most common resident, we'll say there, and she had her ear cut off for listening at the doors. Then you had the plantation owner was shot dead in, I think it was in the main room. So they go through all the history and give it to you there and then at the spot. So I was like, that's great. So nighttime came, the staff were gone home from the restaurant, the other guests were gone. It was literally just me and the crickets. Every time I go out for a smoke, I could hear the crickets outside. And I said, okay, back into it. So I was able to bring one camera, had the K2, had my dictaphones, was working. Started off doing it. It was quite hard from an EVP point of view because there was an air conditioning unit in the building that was making like a noise as the air was going through it. So I had to bear that in mind. But nobody told me the next morning, of course, when it's too late, the next morning they said, we meant to tell you set your alarm on 3. That's usually the most active for Chloe. So I was like, okay, it's fine. Hadn't seen my footage at this stage, but on the night itself, I was getting K2 activity. I could hear people out on the landing and the stairs. I'd go out, it would stop, knowing there was nobody else in the building with me. I would hear footsteps. I was hearing all these footsteps around the place, but there was nobody there. I heard a bang and a thud. So there was something around there. Then I went to sleep. I actually woke up because I thought there was someone in the bedroom. And I literally woke up and started banging the side of the bed because I was fully sure someone was after getting. There was nobody there.
Oh, Jesus.
And then I was trying to go back to sleep again. And just as I was trying to go back to sleep again, I felt the base of the bed at the end was there, the old boards. And I felt that getting a kick. And of course, they were a bit smaller because you know the way long ago they used to say your feet would be up against the board in bed because they believed your soul left you through your foot. But that was the common belief, so they were shorter. It was very high thick in bed. I had to nearly do a run and a jump to get on it, because I don't have the longest legs. You know what I mean? That'd be some queer sight for any ghost or spirit to see. But again, I went off, and next thing again, third time it happened. I was kind of going, like you've no one to even talk to when you're there on your own. There's no one in the building, and you're just trying to settle. So I had a very unrestful night there. To be fair, right? Loved it. That was fine. When I went back and did my review, because even outside during the night, I was able to walk on the whole porches, the building, the back of the house. Oh my God, you'd feel it straight away. The minute you go to the back of that house, the energy just changes to like sadness and dark. You can just feel it in your bones. Watch back my footage. Just before I woke and started banging the beds, there was like a pin of light over my shoes and a little pin of light in the bed. But the big one was I got Nancy, a female like Nancy, just coming back from the cameras, and then I got 1, 2, and I was when I tried to work all the time. I reckon it was around the 3:30 in the morning mark. So again, I was on my own, and here's this female coming with a Nancy and a child's voice going 1, 2, but I was there on my own. But Myrtles. Amazing location. I actually see a group are going there next March. I was like, if I could nearly make it, I'd try to join them.
What's the story there with the Myrtle Fields?
So with the Myrtles, of course, it was a slave plantation.
Right.
But a lot of it was basically down to like money, gambling, debts. But there was also a housekeeper that she tried to make the kids really sick. She was going to be fired. She tried to make the kids really sick, but actually then she got accused of their death. So then they killed her. And then with you, Chloe as well, then who was part of this. So there was an awful lot of the slave movement and a lot of the family themselves being targeted. As I said, the owner himself, I can't think of his name, he was shot in the room himself, they claimed, by one of his own family. And Chloe was her ear was cut off for listening at a door. She was all the time listening around the doors, and that was his own. And he just sliced her ear off. But it was everything that plantation was to do about money, slaves, gambling, and of course, then the big part of it is the fact that she tried to make the kids so sick. Do you know what I mean? She was trying to keep herself alive because they felt they were going to kill her. She was trying to become the savior, we'll say, that complex, the hero complex.
The pure negativity there. Come here, right. Like, what's your belief, lads? Like, do you think is a purgatory? Is that the kind of term you would really put in it? Is it that they're stuck, or not purgatory even, that they're stuck between dimensions kind of a thing? Or what would you say?
But I always say with residual is tied to the building. So I think classic example would be like that house we were talking about earlier with the shadow.
Yeah.
So in that house, we'll say it was a country cottage. The bathroom was added on years later, so the front door was there. There's a black shadow that keeps going just one way out the door, where the original door would have been. So that's residual, where somebody who's doing something so much in life, they're still doing it in death. Some people don't even realize they're even dead. Remember that. So it's residual. They're still doing the same thing, like a routine. Like if I said to you, what's your routine every morning? Most people have something in their routine every morning. They're carrying on to do this, only they just don't realize they're dead. They don't realize you might be seeing or hearing them, and but even though you are, right? So then you've got people like when I hear the help me's, that is to me someone that's stuck. For what reason? I don't know. Is it they're still trying to communicate with someone that's here alive in the physical world? Is it unfinished business? And this is why I say you end up with more questions. And then I think you have some of them that they're just quite happy as they are. Like I find it hard to believe of a purgatory.
Yeah.
Because purgatory, see, of course, you've got to think about this whole Catholic religion of where you believe that's where you were bad, you were stinty, you were stuck between heaven and hell, and so forth. So, like, I do think there's residual that they just don't include. Then, of course, you've got intelligence saying, "What do you think?"
No, I suppose I've never really thought about like being a purgatory sense or anything like that, but I do believe it goes somewhere, alright, anyway. But then you have residual and like people attach themselves to like things and places and stuff like that.
And like sometimes we might ask, sometimes, would you like some prayer? And you would get reactions. And I know we did it in one investigation. We got a very strong reaction if they wanted prayer, and we would straight away pray if we're getting that response. Do you know what I mean? But there's different reasons. It's like everything. It's different reasons. You just can't focus in on one because you each time you don't even know. Like we would have names. Leo's very good for a sense of picking up the names and matching names. Like what was the one the weekend?
You had Tom the weekend, didn't you? You had Joe as well.
Yeah, because I just got the feeling of a Joe, and I was asking for, was there a Joe? Was he Father Joe? Or was it Joe? We were getting the reactions to that. So, and then like we know from going back that, like as I say, if we're going to Wicklow, we know Billy Burke William. So if we're down South Confinement, we know that that's who's associated there, and that name keeps coming up. And that's the other thing. When you're another paranormal group getting the same names as you, then that's more validation.
Here we go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because how can we all be if coming up with the same thing?
Yeah.
Like it's like Loftus Hall. Like we were the first Irish group to do Loftus Hall, and again, you could just feel the energy inside there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I will say I just did one in the States there, the powerful village of Rugby, and it was actually built by a guy from England, and they had a library, a house. He was making a new, we'll say, colony. Would that be the word I'd use? And
Yeah.
I was upstairs in the Uffington house where his mother and his daughter lived. And there was the old rocking chair was upstairs, and I put motion ball on it. And the motion ball lights and the rocking chair just starts rocking in front of me. Then downstairs, and the clip is actually on. I was the only male in that investigation, and there's actually a male voice captured while I'm downstairs. I shared that clip on the Instagram as well. And that was from the Uffington house over there. But they had a library of 7,000 books. This is the first time I've done this. So the librarian was German. So I had very little German. I started using my German. And as I was, the other ladies, she had her own dictaphone running. She hasn't shared it with me yet. But she said she's got the EVPs to match this. There's like German coming back through it. And it's the first time I've tried a different language. Like obviously we've tried Irish. Do you know what I mean? But it's the first time now it was the US, the first time using a different language again. And music is your biggest energy builder. So don't forget that music and laughter. Anything that raises energy, if we have a burst of laughter, we usually capture something around that time. So even if we feel, too, if people get tired, you're there in a while, and as I say, you need patience. We'll always do something to just try to build it back up, because if the energy is high, and especially if there's a bit of laughter, you usually catch something, or if a person jokes with another, something usually happens to them. So it's amazing how it can go full circle. But music and laughter are two of the big energy builders. Rebecca McRedmond, the singer from, she's from Westport. We got her to sing Grace in the chapel in Redwood. and the place just went hopping. And it was
Wow.
actually Rebecca was the one that was in that reel that went viral with over 2 million hits. She was downstairs, she had her guitar, she was Halloween costumed, and like that they felt a child presence. Eva, Leo's partner, had actually made a point saying the room was gone very tense, and she got a big fright. She was like, "Oh, I've just been touched." So I watched back the camera. Her 2 feet, I could see them on the ground. I could see her dress. Her dress comes outward at exactly the time she says it, and there was no breeze with it. So she was absolutely full on. And to be fair, years before that, upstairs in the chapel is where I got my t-shirt tugged, and that clip was there where you can gently see the t. I went down low, put on my 2 hands. I was like, "Come forward, tug me, push me, do whatever you'd like to do. I invite you in." And sure enough, my t-shirt got tugged, and it was a child that time. So here you had years later 2 different circumstances in the same castle in 2 different areas.
Yeah, I think I've seen that clip. Come here, have you ever heard of this one as well? It's the idea that I have heard going around the last couple of years, especially, that it mightn't be a person that's haunting a site, would say. It could be the site itself that is replaying a memory. So like you said with a habit of, let's say, a lady walking down the hall, that hall has kept that memory of that lady walking the hall. It's an interesting thing to think of.
It's like everything. It's like I say, what is on the ground, what was on the ground before.
Yeah.
None of us know for sure everything
No.
that on. Like we don't know because records have been so bad and destroyed. You don't know exactly what's ever been in the ground or the land. So it can come from any era, any time. And don't forget, you're looking at a building. It's like when we're looking and talking about Mildred Derby. You have to think about where the castle was structurally and what position, where was that in that time. And I think we just came upon it as a fluke more so than anything else because it's been rebuilt 3 times. So you're quite right that the energy is there. I will say objects. Do you remember the glass?
Yeah, the glass, yes.
This was one that I can't explain to this day, and I actually, hands up, have to say, is it part of my mind or I can't explain it. So I was there's an asylum of the country, and I was given a tour of it, and I was chatting away, we were having it, and we were stopped by the window, and there was broken glass, and I'm a bit of a fidgety person. I'm sure you probably even noticed it at this stage. So for some reason, I had the glass in my hand, and we continued on. We're talking, and I put the glass in my pocket, just this tiny fragment of glass. Never thought no more. I was driving down the road, and I went, "Oh, for feck's sake!" And it still didn't throw it away. It was just a small piece of glass. I just left it in my pocket. Every night for a week, I kept waking up at the same time with the same nightmare. And I don't even really do nightmares. When I'm asleep, listen, I could snore a town down and happy out. Do you know what I mean? But I kept visualizing. I couldn't see me. I could just see my 2 hands banging at the windows. And I could see the same windows and wire through it for me to get out. And it was the same thing happening. And then on the final night of it, I was in the bed, the nightmare started, and I could swear to you that my leg was pulled with force. So I was saying it to a lot of people. I was trying to get advice of what's going on. Still didn't register the second piece of glass, right? And we went back through the whole story, and all of a sudden the penny dropped. I was like, unless it's somebody else's glass. They said, "What glass?" I said, "I was talking to a man, I had a piece of glass in my hand." I said, "I found it in when I got back to the car." And I said, "You know," they were like, "Where is it?" I said, "It's probably still in the pocket." I said, "I haven't done the washing yet." The piece of glass was still in my room. So I took it to holy ground. We tried our best to bless it, say prayers, tried to clear it out as much. To this day, I haven't had that nightmare ever again. So I don't know if that's a mental thing.
Yeah.
But it was a weird experience. And I could only attribute it to the glass in that building.
That's mad, like, because as you said, it was something you weren't consciously thinking of. I'll just tell you this weird one as well. I was living with this lad before, and he was saying he had this strange one back home. I think it was back home in Tipperary where he was living. And he woke up in the bed, right? And he couldn't move. So what do they call that when you can't?
Sleep paralysis.
Sleep paralysis.
Sleep paralysis. Sorry, yeah, my mind went numb. So he could manage to move his eyes to the right, and he heard this dripping sound. And he looked to the right, and he could see and he could barely move his head. He could get it there slightly, and he said he could see this girl dressed in old style long dress, and she dripping in water from head to toe, and she was looking straight at him, right? It was a child, like about 11 or 12. So then he started to panic. Then he started to sweat. He couldn't move. He said it was going on for about 20 seconds, clear as day that he spotted this girl. So then he didn't even wake up. He said he managed to fucking break free the paralysis, got up out of the bed, went to turn to look at Joanne, and she gone. And he says he can swear it wasn't a dream. Like, stuff like that is mad.
It is. It's like there was a bar I did in the previous group over in Cork, and the family that had the bar called us in. But the man was shaving, and I said, "Do you know, you're shaving away and you're dipping in the water." He looked down. He seen two old style shoes and a woman's legs, and he turned around, but there was no one there. Then they started seeing more around the place, and they had a bar, and they showed us the CCTV of where there was a girl cashing up, and she was at the tail. Her back would be to the bar counter, and she kept turning around, looking behind her, kept turning around, looking behind her, and eventually she just slaps the drawer and just takes off. So, but in the clip, you can actually see a white outline of a man just at the bar counter, just sitting there. Right? So we were doing it anyway, and again, you see, I always say when you're doing it this long, you get used to BVPs, tones, voices, colours, all these things. You get used to it as it goes, and that's why I say if you're ever listening, always listen to the tone. It's always different. But I was taking pictures in one of the rooms. Myself and a lady were in the room. I've no beard, right? No beard, no moustache, nothing. In a reflection in one of the pictures, it was like a grey outline of a man with a rounded head. The hair on top comes down along his ears. You can see he's got a moustache. You can see the beginning of a beard, but there's no jaw. It's gone. That's all that's there. Nothing else. So, wasn't the reflection of any other thing in the room. It was minuscule in that picture, like the reflection, and I think it was just caught by accident. It certainly wasn't me. It certainly wasn't her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, and then we were doing in the bar, and they have a corner called Pauper's Corner. So of course I was like, I'll go to Pauper's Corner, try and pauper myself. We've nothing. Us Kerry people have nothing, lads. We're broke. We're broke as a joke.
Oh, the poor Kerry boys, huh?
Yeah. So there I was anyway, and I started saying, so I'm in Pauper's Corner, whatever. And I suppose I was maybe a bit too flippant. There was this big unmerciful bang, like as if you were just about after blowing in a window. And we even opened the doors, checked outside, nobody on the streets, nothing. They've since closed it. I think it was changed into a house now since then, but the stories they used to tell us about the beds moving and everything was unreal. And that was an unreal location. So like there's so many elements to ghost hunting. It's not just one dimensional black and white. And like that's the thing. It's you're all the time trying to think of something new. Like even we had an incident Sunday night, an object went missing.
Why?
While we left the room, there was one of the guests brought an object. She placed it in the center of the table. She was physically using it, left it there. I even seen it before I left the room myself, right? And because I'm the worst for putting stuff down. Myself and Leo were leaving the room, and I was like, "Where did I put the bloody thing this time?" And I'd seen it before we left. So when we came back, took no notice, and next thing she asked, "Where was it?" Nobody got into the room. So I said, "I have to wait till I watch back the cameras to see what happened." Now, luckily, it wasn't an item of value or just not like someone's wallets or any of these things. It was just an object she was going using as we'll say a bit of her toolkit, and it's just gone. And like we questioned her so much of what does it look like when it goes away or whatever.
So we combed through the whole place with flashlights and hand knees and everything.
It's just gone.
Crazy.
Nuts.
Crazy.
Because
you were saying there a while ago about this, like these spirits, they might not know they've died, and I heard that in a movie, The Sixth Sense, years ago. Do you remember that movie? And I'm just wondering, like,
I see dead people.
Yeah, it scared the shit out of me as well. It did, but anyway, um, I'm just wondering, do you ever come across, because like that's kind of esoteric kind of information slipped into a movie that you're often watching a movie and it's a fictional story, but do you ever come across movies like that where you can identify something that might be true, something that you may have experienced that's just been slipped in?
Yeah, 100%, because it's like I always say, right? I was always saying this to someone lately. Techniques are anything we use. We don't even create. They're there for age-old time. So even stuff in the movies was there long before I ever went ghost hunting. People might evolve from experiments that people started, but like when I see stuff like when you're there watching a movie and you see a shadow going across, and obviously they have it full blown, and you're kind of going, yeah, that reminds me when I seen the shadow of the man standing in the lift. So like you'll always associate the two. Do you know what I mean? There is elements that sometimes you can nearly watch a scene and go, Jesus, that's nearly like such a place. Do you know what I mean? But there's so much of it out there. And you see so many shows are so produced now with the sound effects and everything. They're making it like a mini horror movie for 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Like an interesting one actually was Zach Baggins of, Zach Baggins, are you familiar with him? Ghost Adventures?
No.
So he's huge in the US. But he did, Johnny Cash's house. And of course, in Ireland, we know our big connection with Johnny Cash is Markree Castle. So, do you know Markree Castle in Sligo?
No.
You might know that, Niall, I said, yeah.
So,
No.
Markree Castle, it's just outside Sligo. But when Johnny was over recording with Sandy Kelly, he used to stay there. His name was in the registry book, they have it covered in glass. So, there's a room there called the Johnny Cash room.
So I've heard of Zach Baggins, yeah. Sorry, I have.
So I used to do, I did an investigation in the Johnny Cash suite. It was so funny. I actually, my mother was way free the weekend. I was like, come on, I take you to the castle. I didn't tell her what I was doing. So I got her to stay, and we stayed in the suite. In fairness, the hotel were fantastic. So we stayed in the suite. We had afternoon tea, everything. I was trying to recreate a lot of things from down through the time. But it was interesting. So the camera was static in the room while we were downstairs. The footsteps are there going across the room. There's nobody in the room. But the one part that really got me is the old wardrobes long ago used to have a little, we'll say there used to be a latch, but if you flicked it, it would flick back in and out. Do you remember them? Try to explain it the best I can. They were traditional wardrobes. The latches long ago were like a piece of metal you'd pull up, but if you left them go, they'd bounce back into like a piece of metal.
Yeah.
But that's the wardrobes that were there. So when Zach Baggins and them were doing Johnny Cash's house, they were getting the same sound and the same noises in there. So I said, two different investigations, a world apart. The only one common denominator, Johnny Cash. So it's always good when there's something you can relate with.
Will you ever look to go into that? Is it Matt Reeve or Matt Rive? I always pronounce his name wrong. That's after that's the what's the name? The Warrens. Will you ever try and go there?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Like I won't lie, I think everyone's got it on the cards now. Like as I said, like next year, because I did Scott County Jail outside Tennessee, so we're hoping to hit that. We're hoping to hit rugby and do the UK. And we said while in the States, we're hoping we can get into another location there as well. See, of course, they're so open. That's the difference. I find in Ireland, I don't know, it's because of tradition or religion or what, people aren't just, it's not as easy for them to open a location, whereas they have brilliant access in the States and places like objects as well. Like I was in the Zach Baggins Museum in Vegas, and he's got items there from Gacy, the murderer. He's got the death van. He's even got a piece of what was that famous car, Spider, that kept going on fire. He was a movie guy, had it. James Dean, good lad, you say.
Oh yes.
They've even got a piece of that car there. But I remember even sticking my head through the van. I leaned over the barrier going in, and like you could feel the pin even on your hand. You could just feel it. The museum was packed. Like they had the debunk box there. Now, unfortunately, you're not allowed video or take pictures inside there and leave. Do you remember he did a documentary in Hell House? They actually got the basement in there. But that place is just jam packed with items. If you ever get to Vegas, it would be a late night tour, the RIP tour they call it. Now, granted, it's a tour. I was kind of going, don't know what I'm coming in for, but for somebody like me to see even those objects, to get that close, it was fantastic. And you see, don't forget, objects can be everything and anything. I'd say Leo will have some clearance when I'm dead. The amount of he'll probably call rubbish, the amount of stuff he'll be getting rid of when I'm dead, he'll be surely worth something after it. You know what I mean?
I'll tell you, lads, that's where you're going to make your thousands or your millions.
There's no
them,
hip in the hearse. Remember
they-
that?
that's it.
What's
Them
that?
two boys, Sam and
There's no
Colby.
hip in the hearse.
Sam and Colby, they went down to that museum and they were in the basement. I remember watching that YouTube video they put up there. It must be about last year, and they were sitting inside this chair and everything, and it was nuts. It was like the entity or whatever it was kind of like sitting on top of whoever was in the chair. Does that ring a bell? Below in that
Yeah,
basement.
You'd be a lot better with the Sam and Kobe watching those, but
Yeah.
think of it this way. If you're putting all them objects into any house, no, it would just say, no, you get your own home and you pack it with those objects.
Mm.
You're going to have a crazy house. Do you know what I mean?
But it's a recipe for, I don't know, we call it disaster. You'd probably call it heaven, would you?
Well, listen, I only bought a World War II gas mask only about 2 weeks ago. So, do you know what I mean? It's the same for
Jesus.
anyone.
Wow.
But if you're going to have all them objects, because again, like, don't forget, objects, people, place, residual, everything or anything. There is no method to the madness.
No. Come here. We'll leave you at this one because you're on. Fair play to you for coming on, lads, and you gave us a load
No,
there.
and thanks for the invite. It's good to have a chat. I probably talk
Unreal. No, we love it.
No, not at all,
We love
man.
it.
Jesus Christ.
Because we'd be nearly sick. Myself and Niall would do the odd episodes ourselves. We're nearly sick of listening to each other. It's great to get someone else on. Come here.
To throw in a drink or two and he'll be fine.
Yeah. What's the takeaway that you want people with with coming on your investigations with you? Like, what's the takeaway that you want these people to have?
The takeaway for me, and I think you're the same on this, is like I always say, Púca Vogue is a team. Like, we're all in it together. We're in it because we're paranormal researchers. Like, having our name out there, and even for people to come on the pages, that helps us, like, for when we approach a new location, that people can see who we are, they can see where we've been, and they can see what we've done. So I say it's two things. One, we're sharing what we do and the passion of what we do. But two, it's keeping the name out there to open more doors.
Yeah.
Like, for example, through somebody seeing or hearing something we did on social media, we got access to our restaurant. And it was a very interesting one. The owners weren't Irish. So I knew it was an EVP, but I just couldn't figure it out. It was like gobbledygook. I just knew it wasn't, I knew it was a voice. I just couldn't figure it. The answer was in front of my face the whole time. They weren't Irish. It wasn't their language. So when I played it for the owner, she started crying. She not only knew the language, but knew the voice. But that's what I'm saying. The more our name is out there, the better it is for us to open doors, because there's some amazing locations. It's getting in, and we're very thankful to places that do let us in. So that's what I say to people. Just follow the journey. Pick on us, and especially our Facebook, because that's so poor right now, because we've lost all our content and everything. That's been the crux. But nobody's dead. Well, not on this side of the camera.
Yeah. So it's the website. What's the website again? It's Púca Vogue Paranormal.
If they even just follow, like Facebook, it's Púca Vogue Irish Ghost Hunting, and then Púca Vogue Paranormal. We're on TikTok and Instagram. They're the main three that we kind of go between. Do you know what I mean? We'll leave the website off. I don't have enough time every day.
Yeah. Like it's unreal what you can get in. There's only so many hours in the day. I don't know how you get it all done.
And you see, that's the thing. Like, bear in mind on a Sunday, because as I say to you, like, I do, like, we've just done 2 nights. That's equivalent of 100 hours worth of footage. I could spend myself locked away on a Sunday for 8 hours watching between different rooms, and you're watching something for maybe 2 hours, and you're trying to miss something. Like, that's what goes into it. People think it's glamorous. It's far from glamorous. It's sleeping bags. It's air beds. It could be tents. It could be anything. There's no dignity in what we do.
You'd want to love the game, like. That's what it's down to, loving the game. The love for the game.
But look, and as I say, look, if you ever want to join us sometimes, experience yourself, you're always welcome. We always share the deal.
Oh, we will, John. We're going to go someday, John.
We'd be up for it 100%. Geez, we'd love to get you on
100%.
again down the line, sure. Just catch up with what you're up to.
No bother at all. Anytime, and appreciate it. So thank you very much as well, lads, for coming, giving the invite to us. All right.
Yeah.
And thanks a million, PJ and Leo. It's a pleasure to meet you. And thanks a million for the stories, lads.
Likewise.
We will, lads. Thanks a million. Take care of yourselves.
Thank you, guys.
No bother, lads.
God bless.
Catch you down the line.
See you later.
Take care.